The account of the Widow of Zarephath is one of the most poignant and moving stories in the Bible. A story of an impoverished and unnamed widow and her son who lived in the foreign land of Zidon outside the borders of Israel. The story begins when Elijah, the Israelite prophet, visits King Ahab and tells him that there will be neither dew nor rain for the next few years. A drought soon covered the land, and God told Elijah to leave and travel eastward to a ravine. He hid by the brook Cherith, a small tributary on the east side of the Jordan River in the desert region. Here, God sent food by ravens for Elijah until the creek dried up, and God told Elijah to go to the town of Zarephath and to seek out a widow that would provide him with food and water. Now, Zarephath was a coastal town in Zidon between Tyre and Sidon in Phoenicia. Here Elijah meets a distressed widow, gathering some sticks to make a fire. She had struggled through the long drought and had run out of food and supplies. Now she only had enough oil and flour for one last meal for herself and her son. Elijah asked the widow if she would bring him a drink and some food. Shocked that a stranger from Israel should ask her for food, and in great need herself, she responded, "As surely as the Lord your God lives, I don't have any bread, only a handful of flour in a jar and a little oil in a jug. I'm gathering a few sticks to take home and make a meal for myself and my son, that we may eat it and die." She fully expected the meal she was about to fix to be the last for her family. She had no more food and no other prospect than to die of starvation. Now, Elijah's answer was surely a test of her faith. He told her that she was to make some food for him, using the last of her oil and flour for him. Then he added a promise. "For this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says, the jar of flour will not be used up, and the jug of oil will not run dry, until the day the Lord sends rain on the land." Although hesitant about sharing the last of her food, the kind widow believed Elijah's promise, made some food, and shared it with him. And God was faithful to his promise, and the widow's food supply was supernaturally extended. Here's what the Bible says. She went away and did as Elijah had told her. So there was food every day for Elijah and for the woman and her family. For the jar of flour was not used up, and the jug of oil did not run dry, in keeping with the word of the Lord spoken by Elijah. For some time, Elijah stayed in the widow's house. Sadly, one day the widow's son became ill and died. In her anger and grief, she blamed Elijah for her son's death. She assumed God was judging her. But Elijah cried out to God, "Lord my God, let this boy's life return to him." And the child was restored to life. It's an amazing story of how God used a lowly and unlikely widow to provide for his prophet Elijah. So often we think God cannot use us because we're unlikely, unqualified, unskilled, or untrained. But remember this: ordinary people are the only people God has ever used. God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. This story shares 4 important points. Firstly, obedience to God brings blessing. Secondly, God often uses unlikely people and resources to accomplish His purposes. Thirdly, God's mercy extends to all people. And fourthly, all God requires of us is to trust Him and have faith in Him. If you would like to find out more about how to have faith in God and the plan He has for your life, then I'd like to recommend the free gift we have for you today. It's the Bible Reading Guide, God's Plan for My Life. Just go to our tij.tv website or scan the QR code on the screen to receive your free gift now.